We are Cactus Wrestling. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos.
Cactus Wrestling is now available on Spotify and Amazon. And don't forget to check us out on Etsy for all of your Cactus Wrestling apparel needs.
If you thought it was bad to be an Iowa wrestling fan, oh man, what is going on with Penn State wrestling? We're going to be talking about
A
all
lot.
the stuff that's happening, the drama. And just as a disclaimer, we're going to try and keep this as impartial as possible, just presenting everything that's out there without speculating too much and just to give our take on the whole situation. Starting with, I guess, Aaron Brooks. We were just talking about him. So Aaron Brooks failed a drug test.
USADA.
USADA facing a potential suspension for 1 to 2 years. And he put out a post saying, "Don't trust your local grocery store." Wegmans, it turns out. Love Wegmans. Wegmans is great. But I mean, either way, I mean, we were just talking about it. He's a senior level athlete. He's an Olympian. He's got to take some sort of accountability for this, and he's got to know. I don't know. I feel like he's got to be a little bit more proactive than
I
what.
think that him saying that in the post, don't trust your local Wegmans. I mean, bottom line, you're a professional athlete. You know what you're buying. You know the protocols. If you know you have to take something that you're on the fence about, you can reach out to them. They'll maybe approve it. They might not, but it's better than just saying, I'm going to take this, do whatever I want, even though you know you face scrutiny from it. And this is now the consequences of it. We've seen it with not only in wrestling, we've seen it in track and field, we've seen it in many other sports. So there's really no excuse for failing that test. I mean, you got to know it. Like you're a professional bronze medalist. So yeah.
Yeah, you elite level athlete. Any supplement that you're taking could potentially be something flagged on the list. Like if you're ever considering any supplement, you should be looking to see, like, if I got tested today after taking it, would this be bad for me? Yes, in this case, it would be very bad. And I mean, because the drug that they said that he was testing positive for is considered a steroid. So, like, did he know it's a steroid? Did he not know? I mean, I know. I think Mike was saying something about his dad put something out there saying
Yeah.
he was using it for recovery. But
So
I mean, it it could be a convenient type way of putting it, like saying, "Oh yeah, I was taking this steroid just to recover from the illness that he had." But at the same time, now there's always going to be a shadow of doubt about whether how true that is.
Mm-hmm.
so I'm gonna give some background to it. Because if the three of four of us know a lot of story and we've been talking about this for a while privately, but if you're just kind of tuning in, you're like, what the heck's going on? Um, Aaron Brooks obviously failed his drug test. In an article that was in the Hagerstown Herald, his father, John, said that his son, Aaron, was hospitalized for 4 days prior to this with double pneumonia. After he was released from the hospital, Aaron Brooks took an over-the-counter supplement from a grocery store to, quote, replenish whatever it is needs to be replenished, unquote. John Brooks continued that Aaron did not take the supplement to gain a competitive advantage.
Well,
John
why would
Brooks
he say
said,
that he was?
well,
You know?
John Brooks, well, this is why I think that, and I'll get to why they're saying it this way in a second. John Brooks said the substance he was flagged for came from an over-the-counter supplement to promote optimal hormone levels. He said it was purchased at Wegmans grocery store. John said, my understanding from the attorney's office is that you're going to be punished harshly if your intent is cheating, getting an edge, whatever. Being that he was fresh out of the hospital for a life-threatening situation, we don't anticipate anything big. We think he'll get negligence, not necessarily intent to cheat. And I think that's why we're seeing it framed this way, where it's like, I didn't know, it wasn't purposeful. And for guys that don't know, yes, DHEA, which is what Aaron was caught, is available at Wegmans. It's something that you can get. As Mike said, it is considered a steroid, but it's not considered anabolic. It's very, very low grade. What honestly most people use it for is to either cycle off of performance enhancing drugs or mask the effects of other performance enhancing drugs. in the sense that when people take DHEA, your testosterone level is elevated in your urine, and you could say, well, it's because of this, not because of the other actual anabolic steroids that may or may not be in my system. And so for a lot of people, they use it as a way to kind of scapegoat those things.
Wow.
And I'm not saying that, again, Aaron Brooks was taking steroids, although you can form your own conclusions. But I think that the way that they're framing it as it was accidental, I wouldn't do this purposely. They're
Well,
going to try to fight for the suspension and try to get the negligence rather than intent to cheat, which would lead to a shorter suspension from wrestling.
well, one question I have that I mean we're not going to be able to answer is this the first time he was using this, or has he used it prior in the past? Like, how did he know that this would be a good thing for his recovery?
Also, didn't they say
How did
that
he reach that conclusion?
Yeah.
didn't he also purchase that like that supplement, the exact supplement in so wouldn't that be like that would be pretty like grossly negligent if he just went and purchased that exact supplement. Like you can't just say that you didn't know that the supplement was banned when you literally went like if you purchased that exact banned supplement, that's pretty like that's man, that's pretty bad. Like if
Well, DHEA is kind of popular in the MMA world. Every now and then an MMA fighter gets popped for it.
You saying Bo Nickel suggested he use it?
I am not saying that. You could get your own conclusions, but um, I saw somebody talking about this. They're like, well, I guess the real question is, did he get any kind of competitive advantage from it? And honestly, that's not the real question. The real question is, why was he taking it in the first place? And regardless, it doesn't matter if it's in his system and it's a known failed substance. Mike and Jack wrestled Division One. They know what's in, they take these meetings very, very seriously for the NCAA for compliance. When I earned my pro card in powerlifting, I had to be tested quarterly and had to give things like where I am, my work schedule, my school schedule, my address, what gym I'd be training at, etc., because they take this so seriously. The Penn State argument is that either Aaron Brooks didn't know, which is crazy considering that he is a top level athlete that went through this in college and now has the same scrutiny as a professional.
Well, which is why I say, like, is this the first time he was using it, or like has he been using it in the past?
no, yeah.
And
I
but
don't know. In that post, he says ignorance kills, and even something that seems innocent at your local grocery store can cause consequences.
so then the question then becomes like as a fan, like, okay, well, who's the dummy then? Is it your RTC of NLWC that didn't know to inform you that you can't take this?
He's making
Or
it
is
seem
it
like he
Or is it Aaron Brooks who, didn't know? And as a fan, it's tough to say, like, dude, like, how did you not know this? And to the RTC, how did you not protect your athlete better if you guys knew this?
well, to be fair, I don't think that the RTC is one thing. I think that it's more what confuses me is like the way he phrases that makes it seem like it was a food like any food you can get at the store has that. It's like, well, no, like he's like, oh, you can just find this at a local Wegmans, and I'm like, well, okay, but like it's just confusing. Like where we still don't have answers as to what exactly like we know it's a supplement, but from where did he like? That's why I'm confused by this entire thing. And also, I don't think it's the RTC's fault necessarily because unless this is sort of like a date and fix situation, like then that's a different story. But
I mean, you really think that he told the RTC that he was taking this as a recovery after he had pneumonia?
no, no
He
way.
went to the grocery store and got this, knowing what it was to help himself, and or his parent maybe got it. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. It's definitely just I don't know what he was. I don't know why
Well,
he just
especially if it's an over the counter, that doesn't sound like something that the doctor, like if he had pneumonia, the doctor could have prescribed him something. Maybe it was over the counter. I don't know, but I don't
yeah,
know if there
they
was
usually give
something
like
better.
penicillin or something for that, right? Like I don't know
No,
why
if he had a prescription for it, he's supposed to get the exemption. There's an exemption that the USADA and whatnot,
Mm.
the
That would
world.
say that I qualify for this from a doctor.
that's
Yeah.
my point. He should have
So,
just reached out for that.
well,
Had
no,
he
Yeah.
actually like
so
if
If
he
you
that's
don't
the real
didn't get
reason,
it
though.
from a doctor. It wasn't
Yeah,
prescribed.
he might be. Yeah.
which
Well,
is why
I'm
it's
trying not to
shady. And
speculate.
it's like if you knew you were going to get this, all you have to do is tell them that, and you get an exemption.
Yeah, but I don't think he would have necessarily gotten an exemption if he told
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Um,
It's not like it's not like the doctor prescribed it. Like you just chose to take this.
yeah.
uh, I think it's a lot like the Dayton situation in the sense that they're probably going to plead it down to negligence and be a shorter suspension, and we'll see Aaron Brooks come back to, you know, it's 2025. He's not going to make the 25 team. Maybe 26 he misses, he'll be back for 27 Worlds kind of thing. But I think that's the route that they're trying to push for right now. Um,
It's just not a great look for the program as a whole, as there's been several
Yeah, no, when you
allegations.
put all of these things together, but like, yeah, okay, one of your four times champs has now been tested positive for a performance enhancing drug
yeah.
that is a banned substance. That's not a good look because it then
Chef
puts that
Meyer
shadow
talked
of
about it.
doubt. It was
Well,
saying,
of course, yeah. It's not a good look, and then you start looking back, and you're like, well, was he on this thing when he made the Olympic team? When he took a bronze medal? Like,
Well,
Well,
not to mention, I mean, Gilman also got flagged, right?
yeah,
someone's a little different.
but even so, that's still at NLWC.
yeah. So it's just
Gilman one
not.
is
It's not. It's a snowball. It's not good. It's not good.
The Gilman one is the same way that I got. So like Gilman, I retired from powerlifting and I said, hey, like I'm not gonna be in compliant with testing because I'm retired. And they're like, okay, then you're gonna fail the test. And I was like, that's fine because I'm not competing anymore. Gilman kind of took that route where he's like, I'm just not gonna test because I'm retired. But then he said like, well, I'm actually not retired. So he's in a weird situation where he's in this gray area of is he retired? Is he not retired? Um, and that's why he was like, he didn't fail a test, he failed two tests, is what I believe it was.
Wow.
But again, it kind of goes back to what the Meyer Shapiro interview, where he was like, look, like, I'm not going to name names, but there's steroid allegations, and what we've kind of seen from there is there might be allegations.
Well, with
Yeah.
case, they're saying CASAC too. Like, I'm just saying these are allegations,
ASAC's
but
in trouble for some other stuff, and we'll get
yeah.
to that soon. But um, I think Aaron Brooks comes back. Like I said, I think it's a bit of a black eye for him. We joked off camera that, you know, something else would have been probably better for his legacy if he got caught doing something even, another thing would have been probably better than saying, oh, like steroids.
Yeah, something
Oh, this is not,
legitimately performance enhancing.
yeah,
Like
this is not like the classic use of PED. Um,
No, this is
but
this is
it
bad.
it's almost like because it's not as common, it's going to be more questions and more like, well, why did you do that then?
yeah.
And maybe it was a complete mistake on Aaron's part, and he really did overthink. This is an accident, and he's the victim of circumstance.
Well, that's why I bring it
This
back to
seems to
like,
be.
was this the first time he was taking it?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is like I'm sure a lot of people have been sick. I don't know what double pneumonia is. That's what he had. I've had
I had
pneumonia.
pneumonia. I didn't take any supplements
Yeah, I
after.
was like about to say I had pneumonia as an infant, and I don't remember my parents being like, "We got to get DHEA in them."
Why it
Well, because
doesn't
you didn't have double
make sense.
pneumonia.
That's exactly it. If I only had single pneumonia.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But this is why it doesn't
Combined,
make.
Mike and Mike had double pneumonia.
It's
And
why it
don't
doesn't
even get me
make.
started on triple pneumonia.
It's why it doesn't make any sense though. Because if he was like, you should always act like. It's just no due diligence on his part. He just said, "I'm going to take this," and just not even care about like any sort of like consequences. So it's hard to see them not suspending him for a year. It's going to be a minimum of a year, I think.
No, he said, uh, something that seems innocent can cause consequences. I'll be back soon.
Yeah.
So your banana at the local grocery store, it'll.
But it's funny that, and I send this to you guys, is USADA website specifically talks about DHEA in a
That's why I'm saying it's like there's no way he. I don't see a world where he doesn't face some sort of consequence for this.
But
Because if this wasn't the first time that he used it, how long has he been using it as a recovery
Yeah.
tool?
I don't.
well, the thing is, DHEA is naturally created by your body, and 99% of people would say that from a performance enhancing, experience, it doesn't really do anything,
Mhm.
which is why I'm
Then
kind
why
of
are you
leaning towards.
taking it in the first place?
Well, that's why I'm kind of leaning towards
Well,
the
then
angle,
why
and
is it on the banned substance list though?
that's what I'm getting to, is that because it masks that if you're taking actual anabolic steroids.
I mean, Aaron Brooks is jacked. I don't know.
Aaron Brooks also famously talked about how he's like, yeah, I don't even work out. Like he was like, I don't like to lift weights. Like I remember that interview vividly because
I remember
as
you
someone,
talking about that interview
well,
too.
as someone that does strength and conditioning professionally, like that's what I was like. Oh, I was like, oh man, I love to see the inside scoop of like how these top tier athletes train. Aaron's
How
just
did
like,
he
yeah, no,
get
I
this
don't actually
position?
do like I
Yeah,
don't
but
lift.
aren't the Iranians like that too? They don't really lift weights, right?
Yeah, and Russian wrestlers as well, big into not lifting weights and getting popped for steroids. That was like,
Well,
It's not a good look for Aaron Brooks, is
Uh,
the key takeaway there.
no, not a good look.
So we'll talk about the Starachi stuff. Keeping it very surface level, won't get into any of the major
Yeah.
details, but a lot of allegations going around. We had previously mentioned there was some beef going on between Bo Bartlett, Carter Strachey, and we're like, what the heck's going on here?
Yeah, Bo is so vague.
But now there's a lot of details, including potential theft, and then yeah, if you want to look into the details, do a quick Google search.
the
But
Daily Collegian, I think, put out
The
a
article with a
pretty severe
lot of
article,
details in there.
and
Yeah.
it
there's
names some names.
a lot of people coming out with bad news against Carter. Um,
And if you want a more lighthearted look on that news, look at what Pat Downey is constantly posting. He's
Yeah,
definitely
yeah,
Yeah, it's one of those situations for Penn State where they need to really fully investigate it. If you look at the history of Penn State athletics, I mean, we all know about the Sandusky thing. So Penn State, especially Penn State, is a program that can't just be like, because allegedly from Bo Bartlett, again, allegedly there was an investigation done and nothing,
6 months.
yeah, nothing came of it. So I guess that's where the biggest confusion stems from for me. It's like, well, if there was an investigation done and nothing came of it, like I'm just confused as to whether maybe that's because it's an internal investigation versus like you need a third party investigation, and then that's where it leads to more questions. But I think right off the bat, Penn State definitely needs to do something to address this because, yeah, the history is just not on their side.
well, unfortunately, what it sounds like is that someone's going to have to take the accountability for it, and that usually falls on the head coach.
Yeah,
And
true.
so, if it's
yeah, even if you
true
didn't know,
that
you should have known.
Bartlett did come to Kale with this, and Kale didn't escalate it to the appropriate channels,
Yeah,
then
big issue.
unfortunately, Kale might see the boot. I don't know.
Well, are they
This,
facing legal? Like that's my question. Is there an actual legal? Is there anything legal going on with this, or is this just articles being published? Because I'm confused by that too.
I'm sure there's stuff happening right now, and that's why like we're now seeing the articles about it because there are moves being done.
Hmm.
But this is just kind of an update and for a lot of people that I guess didn't know. Um, but yeah, it's again like we're not judge, jury, executioner. We're not gonna make a claim on as to what's what, but the articles that are out there, um, the allegations against Carter are very serious, and I'm sure that people shouldn't be taking them lightly, and they should be doing their due diligence to find out what the truth is and have a really serious investigation, um, because as you know we've seen from Bo talking about and why he's kind of left Nittany Lion Wrestling Club to go to the New York RTC.
So
There's some stuff going on.
well, one thing I'm curious about is, do you think there's any truth in whoever it was that said it, that the reason Bo Bartlett was wearing two different shoes was because the
He's
other
doing
No,
Palacio.
that was a
No, yeah,
joke.
Palacio joking around.
Well, I think on a serious
No,
note,
I know. But I was cracking up at
on a
that.
serious note, the stuff that's extremely, all of it's very concerning. But one thing that's extremely concerning and something that's a huge like worry about the future of Cale Sanderson's role is if Carter was actually doing this stuff in practice and he was aware of it and nothing was really done about it. I mean, that's
According to the Collegian article, it says that he was aware of it, but
so like
I
that's
don't
just
really know what the Collegian's sources are.
Well, yeah.
that's not
So
going to fly if that's true.
Well,
Like,
unfortunately, that's what happens with these like superstar athletes who they think they're invincible and that they're not going to face any repercussions because they're so immensely talented at whatever sport they
yeah.
do that they can kind of push the boundaries in what's morally right or
Well,
wrong.
wouldn't someone though in those situations because they were the stuff they were alleging during practice? You would think wouldn't someone fight back though, like physically? I mean, surely not everyone's just going to be like fine with
Well,
that.
Wrestling a partner and your partner's way better than you, even if you fight back, unless you're gonna like fight.
Well,
What are you
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, fight. If he's doing stuff like that, I mean, surely that would make somebody very upset, you know?
yeah, but
Like,
you're also talking about 18, 19, 20-year olds, and there's a big intimidation factor when it
yeah,
comes from a senior leader who is this huge name.
yeah,
And I mean, we saw it with the AJ Ferrari thing that the people that were coming out against him were kind of bullied into dropping it because they were scared
that's
from their fan base. So
no,
it's
I know. I'm
kind
just
of,
surprised there wasn't more like, I guess we don't know enough details to really say. But yeah, you're right about the intimidation.
I
yeah.
don't know.
I mean, so as it stands, I think Carter is no longer part of NLWC. Is
Well,
that
was he ever part of it though?
Oh,
I
well,
guess,
that's the Daily Collegian says that he was never signed.
yeah, I don't think he was ever
I thought
part
there
of
was
that.
a report out there saying that he left or
Well,
something.
that's Pat Minio said that. He said like, Carter has been like cut from the, NLWC, but the Daily Collegian that talks about it wrote that while the NLWC was trying to keep Bo in Happy Valley, staff and coaching told him Starachi would not be signed to the club, citing character issues.
Wait, that's confusing though, because he was wearing NLWC gear when he was wrestling
Exactly. And
at the World Team Trial. So
the Final X. Yep. And
he,
that's where it's tough. It's like, okay, well, is he part of it? Is he not part of it? Is he
well, I guess
representing the
he is if
club,
he's
but
wearing
not?
the stuff, right? I guess you can't really
I
refute.
don't, yeah,
Yeah,
I
but all
don't.
this stuff was publicly announced after the fact,
Yeah,
I believe.
That might be, CYA.
that's why it's like just very confusing because there seems like there's so many like things just being thrown. Like there's not one concise set of facts. But I guess that's how it goes with these things. So I guess we'll see how it plays out. My thing is more. I'm just trying to understand if there's any actual like legal proceedings going on with Starachi, or if this is sort of just like a media frenzy right now.
Good question. I think that what's interesting too, and we didn't really talk about it, is KSAC is involved in this.
Oh yeah, especially with the theft.
Yeah,
So, it wasn't just the sexual assault and greater allegations that are against Carter, but the, Bo Bartlett's items were stolen from his locker, and
Yeah, that's
we
right.
talked about that it was it shows according to text messages obtained by the Collegian, investigators pulled LWC security footage and found that only two men had entered the locker room between the time Bartlett last saw his missing items. Carter Starachi and Tyler Kasak, who entered the room simultaneously. Since the footage didn't show the missing items in Starachi's hands, the investigators required an admission of guilt from Starachi or Kasak to initiate actions against them. And the investigators spoke with Kasak, but told Bo they didn't receive any useful information from the police. Penn State police were unable to contact Starachi over the course of nearly 6-month investigation.
Yeah, which
Since they
doesn't
couldn't get
make
admission
any
of guilt from
sense.
doesn't make any
Starachi, the
sense.
case was closed and referred to student conduct.
How do you not have his like you? How can you not just go to where this guy lives and find him? Like it doesn't make any
Show
sense.
up to a practice.
Like it's just that's probably what.
Well,
I mean, clearly that like if it highly makes it likely that the one of the two of them were the ones that stole from Bo, or both.
yeah.
And then I was seeing on the wrestling forum, I saw like 5 or 6 posts. Again, these are all allegations, and they were deleted like shortly after. But they were saying some pretty like heinous things involved with KSAC and similar to what Starachi did. So it's just like there just seems to be some sort of just issue going on there with Starachi and KSAC. But I guess we'll see what happens.
Again, another Penn State legend barely out of finishing the college career and already like tarnishing the legacy like with I mean, I don't know if any of it's true or how much of it's true, but there's already a blemish now on both Brooks and Carter's.
Well, that's my thing. Like, from like, what my question to you guys is, moving forward for the future of Penn State, I would, if I was a
Recruit.
recruit coming in, like obviously, they're very talented at wrestling, but like for a program, it seems like there's some sort of out of touch culture going on where the top wrestlers are kind of untouchable, it seems, and
Yeah,
there's no accountability.
I guess you could say that.
Like
Unfortunately, I
college
guess you could
football.
say that's the same thing for all high level. You could make an argument, I guess I
Yeah.
should say, that there's a lack of accountability for higher level athletes. You've seen it in the NFL with Deshaun Watson. I mean, the guy's still playing despite some pretty heinous accusations. And
Do
Michael
you
Vick
think it
brutally killed like 50 dogs, and they were like, "Yeah, come back, just sling that football again." I mean, look at if you follow college football, Georgia in the last few years has had like 13 players get arrested for vehicle issues. Like, one of them I think they were had like felony car like issues with cars. Where like everybody in Georgia was getting arrested. Didn't matter. They're good. Get them back in the field.
yeah, it
do
just
you
Um,
think it affects their recruitment?
no, and I think that's crazy that it doesn't.
yeah, I think I'm on the side of, unfortunately, I think I'm more on the side of Mike Long for some, like, I just don't know why. I just don't think it'll
Like,
affect.
'cause, like if I'm a recruit and I'm hearing about all this craziness happening, I might be like second guessing wanting to go there a little bit at
That's
least.
true, but I guess we might have a
I
different.
might be putting a bit more thought, like, do I really want to be jumping into this craziness that
But
some
you have to put yourself in the shoes like of an 18-year-old too, and like I think that's the reason why I lean more on Mike Long's side. Unfortunately, is because I think that despite that, they're gonna see, well, he was a five-time national champ, or blah blah blah. Look at all these accomplishments, and look what all these guys are doing. So, despite this, and Kale's the greatest coach, and like it's just like I agree with you, Mike. Like they definitely should hesitate, but will they? I don't know.
kind of culture is going on over there.
It's I
I
will
don't
say
know.
that not to downplay the Penn State thing because this is obviously heinous, but I know of other programs in the last. Okay, well, I'm old now. Let's see. I'm gonna go back to a very. I'm not gonna name the program. I'm not gonna name. I could probably say what happened.
Well, it
But
just came out, right? And it's
no,
like
no, no.
under
I'm
the
talking about.
shadow.
I knew a kid that was a top three in his weight class in America, getting recruited by a very big one of the powerhouse wrestling programs. And on his visit, where he was with some other guys that were top guys in the class, after he left, and the coaches, they're like, okay, like we'll release you and you can hang out with the team. The team had a sanctioned fight club where they made the recruits,
Sanctioned.
yeah, they made the recruits fist fight for their entertainment.
Wow.
And I remember vividly when I talked to him again, this guy who was top three in the nation at his weight class was like, I am not going there. He goes, I know guys that are still signed to them. And it turned out I saw guys that, years later, the guys that he was being recruited alongside with that stayed there won national titles there and
Well,
had a great
yeah.
career there. But I'm like, dude, that's crazy that that night you were supposed to have a fist fight with blank name who ended up doing very well for this college that
Well, that's the thing that happens. Like, look at like with all this Penn State stuff. Like, look at the Ohio State stuff that's been sort of just swept under like that whole. They just made a new movie or
oh,
doc,
the abuse at Ohio State, yeah.
and no one is like, no one's really talking about that either, despite like literal just
It's
obscenities happening, and it just no accountability whatsoever.
I
One of the
think
guys is in Congress right now.
yeah, Jim Jordan.
He's in Congress right now. Like,
It's the same thing that I kind of said about Kyle Snyder when we talked about it, is that as long as he wins, people are going to be like, yeah, I don't even care.
yeah,
I think we're such a win
I
at all
think
costs
Brutus
culture.
has already thrown
Yeah.
themselves back behind.
We're such a win at all costs culture that like if you know if Kyle Snyder goes and wins Worlds at 2025 and then wins Worlds, has this crazy win streak. People will be like, dude, like who even cares he was banging hookers?
Yeah, but
I already see it. And the same thing that we
what do
saw
you
at other colleges, the same thing at Penn State. If Penn State again puts a team that has 10 All-Americans, breaks the scoring record, they'd be like, dude, that was so crazy. Like they're just gonna be let move past it.
what do
Yeah.
you think they'll say about Snyder if he doesn't medal again?
Then they'll crucify him.
You think so?
I think so.
Interesting.
The problem
I
for
mean,
me is like Penn State #1 program. You want for the next generation, like these are guys that the kids, the younger wrestlers should be able to look up to. And
100%.
when you see guys like Braden Davis getting arrested,
And
and
that's a
I know
young
this is going to sound Haiti, but something as simple as Josh Barr not shaking hands with Trent Hidley at
Yeah.
Whoa,
Final
whoa,
X.
whoa, whoa, whoa. He did shake hands. I
Oh,
Okay,
come
here we go.
on.
watched the
Come on.
video.
You're supposed to shake hands and then they twist you around.
Yes. And he
And
apologized for it that night publicly.
Okay, but it still was the principle
It
of
was a
the fact.
douchebag thing to do for sure. And he
that's what I'm
apologized
saying. These
for it.
top guys, they have such high ego and that they're not setting a good example.
In fairness, he owned that day.
Oh my God. Okay,
Literally
but
hours later.
he's
No, I
saying
know. I agree that it was the wrong thing to do and it sends a bad message, but at least he owned it that night instead of
that's
being like,
true.
instead of ignoring it. He was like, look, I messed up. The moment I have a chance to publicly
Well,
apologize for it, I'm going to.
did he own it or did he get called out by Palacio and then want to
He
respond? And that's
apologized first. Palacio put that afterward.
really? I thought
I remember because
Palacio
I
put
think
it
I
first.
remember that because he tweeted at Palacio, be like, dude, like I already said, like here's my post.
Regardless,
Oh, okay.
it doesn't send the message like as a culture. Like I feel like the culture should be like you win with grace, you lose with grace. And it just doesn't seem
I
like
feel like that's where it definitely used to be.
But people don't talk about that anymore. They say, "What's your goal?" And they go, "I want to win national and world titles."
yeah,
So,
but you look at other
but
programs. When have you ever seen anything bad about Nebraska?
my
You
point is,
have
people don't say like, "Oh, I want to go and lose with grace." Like that's no one's like goal for college. Their goal, they say, Penn State, for better or worse, is the best place to make me successful at freestyle and folk style. Look at the track record they've had. They go, "I do not care if I have XYZ thing potentially happen to me, as long as I can reach my lifetime goal." And is it good? No, not necessarily, but I think that's the reality of it.
Well, I also think this stems a bit on Kale because I've listened to interviews with him in the past, and it seems like he's been trying to, like, I don't know how to say it, like get with the times maybe because they've asked him before about celebrations and things like that, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it, but like I don't want to like interfere on these kids like being ecstatic for the moment." So I think maybe he's sort of like loosened up a bit, but maybe that's like not a good thing. Like maybe he's sort of just not as strict as he used to be because he wants to get with the times. But
I think that Penn State is also doing a good job keeping this under wraps. I mean,
yeah,
we know about this. People that are going to watch the video might not know about it. Some might know about it. But I know that like I have youth wrestlers right now that are at a Penn State wrestling camp hosted at Penn State. And
There's
I was
nothing wrong with that. Like I'm
no,
not
no,
trying
no.
to
But
be
my
like
point is
hating
like
on Penn
I
State,
talked to
but
them about I have no problem at all. But I talked to them about it and they're like, we didn't even know this was a thing. And I'm
yeah.
like, that's my point. Is
Well,
that like
that's good
it's
though. I don't think kids should know about this
no, but
stuff.
like
yeah,
I didn't talk to the kids about it. I was talking to their parents about it. Like
Yeah.
they aren't aware of the allegations by potential clinicians at the camp they're at. And I think it's like
it's-
the Teflon Don kind of thing where, I am a Penn State fan for sure. I love to see them be successful. I hope that, you know, justice is served, but I also hope that the allegations are false in a sense because I don't want to see and that the possibility that these awful things actually did happen. And so I don't know what I hope for there, but I think it's important for me to protect my own youth guys and my own high school guys. But I also think that Penn State is doing an incredible job of PRing this, where Flow Wrestling's not talking about this. No
yeah. We
podcast
we,
is talking
we got
about
to
this.
wonder why they
And
haven't said it.
Downey it keeps calling out USA Wrestling and Flow because they are not touching it. And he's like, but the moment anything with me, and he even lumps in Ferrari, he's like, they love to jump and crucify both
Same
of us.
thing,
But
and look at how much attraction the Iowa gambling thing got. People talked about it for months.
Even Flo talked
We
about it
talked
for
about it.
so
Exactly,
long.
that's my point. Is like, and I'm like, look,
and
like
comparatively, that
it's
is
gambling is like a victimless crime. Like, was it
yeah.
stupid? Of course, but it's like it's like, oh, 22-year-old don't gamble. And it goes, anyway, we're gonna cut to our sponsor at a Sports Geek or whatever, and betting odds. And I'm like, dude, how do you on one hand say that like this, don't do this, but on the second, this is your school's main sponsor.
Yeah, the
Um,
Flores just has not said a single thing about
Nobody's
it.
gonna talk about this because Penn State, and because they're like, oh well, it's allegations, and
Well, we did
like I
have
said, I
one
think
person comment
I think
saying
they're
no
PRing it
one's
well.
talking about any of it.
Cactus
Well,
isn't
regardless,
afraid to talk about the real stories.
Plus, if you add in, we haven't mentioned it. Penn State, are they in trouble? Mesenbrink lost a car, and
Kyle
well,
Dake didn't win.
yeah, Dake didn't win, and if you
well,
throw in also,
Oh, here we go.
what
Here we
was it?
go.
Oh, I'm gonna try and find the list.
They recruit Rocco Welsh and force Zach Ryder out of there, their boy,
you're gonna
Oh,
have to
Nickel
stay
got
tuned.
knocked out.
Oh
and
yeah,
Nickel got knocked out. Like, are they in trouble?
you
What's
got to
going
stay
on?
tuned for our Final X recap. But
On
yeah,
the
I
way
mean,
to Lex recap, we haven't gotten to that yet.
we
Yeah.
uh we figured we would just put it out there because obviously this is big news in the wrestling world. So drop a comment down below. What are your thoughts on the whole situation regarding Penn State and everything that's going on? We'd love to have a civil conversation
Yeah.
with you about it in the
How many Penn
comments.
State haters are gonna hit us up and
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of people that are like Penn State haters that are like, yes, I'm so happy to hear this.
yeah, it's weird.
Like, and I'm like, dude,
that's
like,
not really something you should be
well, that's
happy.
exactly it. I was like,
Yeah,
look, like, this
it's
is
weird.
horrible. Like, assuming everything's true, like, this is horrible, horrible news
Yeah.
The
for
people literally
everybody involved.
affected by it.
It doesn't
Like,
matter if it's what team it is. Like, there's victims potentially in
Yeah.
all this. Like, so to brand someone cheer for someone's downfall just because it's a team you don't like is insane.
weird
Um,
behavior.
So hopefully, like Jack said, we could have civil conversation in the comment section. I like to talk to you guys in the comments, and hopefully we can,
Be simple.
have intelligent sharing of information and further
You can always
really
rely
protect
on
our sport.
me commenting at least 10 times. So
And
people
he's
are
usually the first. He's
I
usually
am
the
the
first.
first. I'm almost always the first. I try to do that all the
And if
time.
you ever see Cactus Wrestling in the comments, that's usually me.
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
think it's 100% me actually. So
No, it's 100% you. It's not usually. It's 100%
yeah.
you.
So in case you were
Comment, it says
wondering,
Michael Keeper
Cactus
and some
Wrestling,
numbers.
I got you there. And I'm back from Europe, so welcome me back in the comments.
Jack was competing overseas.
Yes.
It's not. I was hiking.
Not necessarily, unless it was him against nature, but
Yeah. So drop a comment down below, and thanks for watching Cactus Wrestling.
Thanks for watching. We are Cactus Wrestling, and we'll see you next time on our next video.